Welcome back. No? Okay. So, hey, we get to do another episode, which is super cool. And one of the things that we've been able to do that I think is really awesome and a lot of fun is that we've been able to have people on to share their perspectives and experiences and so on and so forth. We've been able to have other teachers. We've been able to have different service providers. And one of the things that we really wanted to do when we kind of started this whole podcast idea was let's get everybody at the table that is involved in that IEP world, that finds themselves in IEP meetings, and say, hey, let's create a place where we can all kind of sit and chit chat and learn from each other. So today, this evening, this morning, whenever you're listening, we have yet another guest. And this one, and I say this every time, but I mean it. It's a special guest. Like, we have another special guest, but I'm not going to go into all that. I'm not going to give out all the details. I'm going to let Mrs. Curtis do that because...
Mrs. Curtis.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to let her do that.
All right. So
you got it, Curdy.
We've got... So this person started as a parent of one of our students, and now I think I consider her. She's still a parent of one of our students, but I also consider her a friend. And so we have Lindsey Workman, and she's also our boss's wife. And
so real quick, then, before we even move on, what is something that you can tell us that nobody else knows? Like, is he like in witness protection, or is he like a closet Swiftie, or?
Right. No, he runs his mouth too much to be in the witness protection.
Gotcha.
Definitely
I
not
get that.
Swiftie.
So we're gonna talk about something tonight that I'm not real familiar with. I can't even say it right. And so what I'm also going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and let Mrs. Curtis lead us in.
All right.
I keep calling you Mrs. Curtis. That's that.
I know.
I'm sorry, Laura.
That's all right. I don't think you ever use Laura. It's usually Curdy.
Hey, Curdy.
Because we have one that calls me Curdy. So let's see. We've been, is it 4 years now that we have been working with your child, Lindsey?
Since kindergarten?
Kindergarten, first, second. And yeah. So this is our 4th year getting the privilege of working with Miss Daisy.
Yes.
And so there's been a lot of growth and a lot of learning. And I have to say that I think Daisy's probably the first and only student that I know that has the rare disease that she has. And I'm going to let you go ahead and let us know, what is it that Daisy has been diagnosed with?
So Daisy is the first person I've ever known or met with Tuberous Sclerosis Complex. And that can be the only time we have to say that. We can just call it TS or TSC. And that is a rare genetic disorder that causes benign tumors to grow in pretty much all her major organisms and on the outside of her skin, her eyes, her heart, her brain, her kidneys, and just on the female side when they hit puberty in their lungs.
Wow.
In their lungs?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds...
And I'm not sure why just the ladies get to enjoy that.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like, I did not expect you to end up on the lungs, right? It's like that. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And it's once they hit puberty. So when I heard that, I stopped learning more about that because we had enough in front of us to learn about.
Right.
So one step at a time, because
yes,
was that how old was it something that she was born with, or did it develop?
She was born with it, and how she got diagnosed is at 3 months old, she started having infantile spasms, and we took her to Wolfson's, and she had one white patch on her leg, and that is how they made the connection from infantile spasms and TS. because with tuberous sclerosis, they get several skin conditions, and one of them is white patches. The other ones are, the freckle looking ones on her face.
Mm-hmm.
And like the other one is like raised, almost like an orange feeling type patch. And she got all three of them. And so that's how they connected through many other tests that they did while we were in Wolfson's. And that was the first time I've ever heard of that.
And so when you first heard about that, so what was your, the experience of learning about that? I know, I'm sure it was confusing and
it was overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what it was. I didn't know what that meant for the future, what it meant for right now. And the doctor told James and I not to go and get on Google because that'll freak us out. James didn't, I did.
Right. I think that's kind of typical.
Yeah, that works. That tracks.
I wanted to be prepared. I wanted to know what to expect. But because, like autism, tuberous sclerosis is a spectrum. People can have it and you don't know that they have it. And they can go their whole lives without even being diagnosed because they don't know that they have it. But in true Daisy fashion, it was very clear.
She's like, hey, y'all.
She let you know, right? Definitely.
Yes.
And so what were some of the key challenges during that time?
For us, it was just the seizures because she was 3 months old and it started with the infantile spasm. So that was the scariest thing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then knowing we weren't sure if she was going to be able to sit up by herself ever, or if she would needed assistance to walk or be able to feed herself. But she was able to get on with early development. And we had somebody come to our house and help her with OT. And it took her longer to learn to walk, but as soon as she did, she was running.
Very good. So that early intervention, that's what we keep hearing over and over again.
Yes,
is that
early intervention. So important. So important. And we got in like as soon as her diagnosis, we have somebody coming out the next week.
Very good. Were there things that they told you that she wouldn't be able to do that she's doing now?
They said, you don't know.
Yeah.
She could be in a wheelchair. She could never talk. Her delays could keep her at a 3-year-old indefinitely. It's just you never know what you're going to get. You don't know what the outcome's going to be.
And so what are some of the conditions that go along with her TS?
So with that, like I spoke about, the skin issues and the tubers that grow, the seizures. So she's also diagnosed with epilepsy. And hers are called absent seizures or vocal seizures, where she just kind of looks frozen. And if you don't know how to spot it, you don't even know that she's having one.
That is true.
She's never had a major seizure.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God. I would never want to see that. And my heart goes out to any parent that has to see their child go through that kind of seizure. But still the same. She could have these seizures back to back to back to back to back multiple times a day. And they make her tired, they make her aggravated, and they can cause delays. And then another thing that comes is, so they call it TAND, TAND, which is a behavioral umbrella just for children with tuberous sclerosis, because of the aggressiveness that can come with the diagnosis, sudden rage, hyperfixation, obsessing, self-harm, which Daisy has had every every single thing that they list with TS, she has encountered and come across and has to conquer each day.
And how is that like? How does that affect your life and as you know on the daily basis and your family's dynamic and how's that impact
Uh,
you?
it's very challenging. It's very, very difficult, but I can say for the whole family that it gets better. We're doing better. She's doing better. She has many specialists that she sees, and we finally got her in with a behavioral specialist that has given her medicines that seem to be night and day for her
Mm-hmm.
with her attitude. And y'all know, like, she's not a patient person, and that's one thing that really upsets her
Nah.
is when she has to wait,
Mm-hmm.
and that can cause her to self-harm herself and get upset. And immediately after the behavioral therapist put her on a medicine, I feel like we all saw a big change in her
Mm-hmm.
aggressiveness.
I agree. Yeah. What?
I got the look. It's like, let's wait and see where you wanted to go.
But it's just now, even though it's hard and challenging, it's just now feeling like it's getting easier as a family.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, we felt like we had to live in a bubble, and COVID happened like right when we got her autism diagnosis and
Mm-hmm.
right when we started seeing those behavioral issues. So it was much easier just to live in a bubble. And I just don't do that. Don't live in a bubble. Go out into the world early, because you will wish that you did.
I know that's a conversation we've had, with each other. I know we've had it with you and James as well, and we try to talk about it. Say, yes, do the hard work now because they get bigger.
It's so much
They
harder.
get bigger. They get stronger, and they're easier to so like
Manipulate?
no. Well, I mean,
Like physically manipulate.
well,
When they're
yes.
smaller, you can.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
get them used to doing things and get into this is what we do here and this is what we do there when they're younger than trying to take them out. And I think I've shared before about my experience taking Xander to Publix and him just sitting down on the floor and think he was about Daisy's age, and he's up. I'm not going anywhere because I wouldn't give him whatever it was that he wanted at that time, and he plopped his little rear end down on that floor in Publix and screamed. And of course, I wanted to go. No, I'm never taking him to the store again. And
That's what I did. That is what I did. And that is a mistake.
Mhm.
That is a big, big mistake. And I still don't take her to stores.
Yeah, it's hard.
I've tried. I have tried, but I can see, because of me not doing that, how much harder I made it on the both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
So
think
that would be a big recommendation for me to say, get him
parents.
out there.
and I think sometimes parents with children that have special needs, they kind of need some feel like they need some permission to fail at times and to do
Mhm.
things to try the hard things and it all fall apart, and that's okay because that's how we progress. That's how we progress as human beings. That's how we progress in our relationships. That's how we progress as families. And so it is important to take those shots and to fail and to try again and to get back up
Absolutely.
because nothing's going to go right the first time. It just doesn't work. Life doesn't work that way.
Right.
And it's much better to do that and to feel embarrassed and to feel ashamed, which nobody should, than to feel isolated your whole life.
Well, and so what it does is and I'm just kind of listening to you talk about this, is that it gives you this. I mean, it helps you as a parent to grow as far as your strength and your
Oh, yes.
willingness to. We can always say that we don't care what people think, but we'll battle that, right? We battle. Nobody wants to
yes.
go somewhere and have people thinking certain ways of them. But when putting yourself in those situations becomes the norm, you're going to grow as a person. You're going to grow as a parent. and then your child gets the best you that you can give them. And so that, yeah, I mean, that's like top tier necessary work, but it's hard. And it's hard to do
And
it by yourself.
they get a better shot at being out in the world too.
Mhm.
Well, I think that's
It's hard.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really, 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 really hard.
Well, like Jared shared some of his experiences where he's been at family functions and like, okay, I got to go now, and
Us too.
I can't do this now, and but then like you said, you just keep trying, and the more you do it, the more they get used to it and understand. Okay, this is what I do here, and that's one of the things we notice about Xander is he knows what is expected in his environments, and he
Mhm.
will. That's one of the ways we realized that little booger could sit still for longer than 3 seconds is
Yeah.
that we went to a school assembly and there he was sitting on the floor with his classmates, where anywhere else we go, he was running all around. I said, okay, yep, we got
Yeah.
we got your number.
School definitely gets a whole different version of our children than the parents.
Agreed. And we're on both sides of that because we've had conversations and, we've had the fun shoe issues and, different new things.
Yes.
And a lot of times our kids will do things for their teachers that they won't do for us. And
Yeah, like what y'all can get out of her is amazing. Not mom. Mom cannot get a fraction of what y'all can get from her.
well, but mom's going to love her no matter what she does. And
That's
I
right.
mean, I hope she knows that about us as well, but she definitely knows that about mom.
Yeah, well, she raised me. She knows.
Right.
Funny how that happens, huh? So you've talked a little bit about your the medical support and educational support. What about support out in the community?
So nobody knew what tuberous sclerosis was. And I didn't know anybody with autism or that wanted to let me know that they had it or that their child had it. I didn't know anything about autism besides what I saw on TV, which is more of the Asperger's or high functioning. They talk, but they're just a little quirky or different. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all I knew about autism. That's not what I got. I got a different kind of autism. So it's like we all had to learn together. My family, James's family, but we are lucky that we both have families that wanted to be in Daisy's world and wanted to learn how to function with her, what her boundaries are, and that boundaries are important, and that their feelings don't get hurt when I say we can't come last minute, or I know we just got here 2 seconds ago, but we have to go. And no, it's not that she doesn't like you.
Right.
She needs, it's in her time.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have any local support. I had support through the internet. I found like mom groups and with there's a TS Alliance. So that's how I really connected with her condition to learn about that. And I knew because of her condition that it's the strong likelihood, it's like somewhere between 70 and 80% that the child will have autism as well. So I knew it was coming. I don't think dad knew, but I knew it was coming. And I knew around before she was even 2. And so she was diagnosed at 3. Oh no, maybe a little bit before 3 because of her condition. But we do have a special needs community in town, but it's geared more towards after school
Mm-hmm.
and when they're adults. But there was nothing for young kids or before school or during school. No community like that.
So what have you done to help bridge that gap?
So I created a Facebook group for caregivers, for local local caregivers for children on the spectrum, because I had so many moms and people private message me, are there any groups locally? Are there anything here in town? My child was just diagnosed, or I think my child does have, but they're not comfortable with being public about it, or they don't know where to go to. So I created this group hoping that they don't have to feel alone and that they can feel seen and validated and know that it's not just them going through this.
I know it makes a huge difference in anything that you're going through in life that's difficult to have an understanding that there are people that at the very least can understand what it is that you're sharing. They may not have to, or they may not be able to understand every aspect of it, but if there's something that you can connect with, or somebody can connect with you that allows to kind of lift that burden just a little bit, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yes, it does. And I don't know why nobody is talking about the no sleep thing with children with autism, how they just don't sleep.
And it's real. Yeah, so Xander used to, he would stay up until like 2 o'clock in the morning, and he'd wake back up at 5, and when he
They
was
need
younger.
very, very, very little rest.
Well, he would, because he'd go to bed, but we would hear him in there. We were fortunate that when he went to his room to go to bed, he did stay in there, but we would hear him in there giggling and laughing and humming and talking to himself. But then even on the weekend, that if he wanted to stay up, he would still wake up at the same time that he got up for school. Now that he's a teenager.
Oh, yeah, that's not an issue
now
anymore.
he sleeps till 10, 11 o'clock.
He'll
So
come-
see,
yeah.
once again, it
See?
does get better.
Yep.
Fingers crossed. And she is doing so much better. This year of life is the first year where I could leave her in her room and walk away. The very first year. So she'll be 9 on the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
So 8+ years is how many years I have been right by her. So of course it's going to be difficult putting those boundaries down. But this year, after some advice from you,
And by the way, that you was directed to Laura, because I don't do that well.
as Daisy likes to call her, Curtis.
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 With her voice, with that
Yeah.
gruff voice.
She likes to do her voices.
Mm-hmm.
So outside help, outside advice, I would have never even have tried, because I would have just thought this is how it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be right by her. She obviously needs me. I can't just leave. If I leave her alone, something bad can happen. No, that's how she raised me. That's how she manipulated me. We can be apart.
Mm-hmm.
And now that she'll get up in the middle of the night, and sometimes she'll just go grab her tablet and not wake anybody up. And what a blessing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, year 8 has been much better than year 7 or 6 or 5. Those were particularly really rough years.
Yeah. What advice to others would you share? You've already shared some things. Is there one thing that if you want somebody to walk away this whenever it is, I'm going to say this evening, but they might not be listening this evening, but one thing that you would want them to walk away with?
I would say don't be afraid or ashamed to share you and your child's story, and to ask for help, or say, hey, is anybody else's kid doing this, or is anybody else having trouble here? Because you are going to find so many more people going through the same thing than that, and then you could get advice that changes your lifestyle. That really, really helps. Is just don't be afraid, don't be ashamed. There's no reason to be ashamed.
And so if you had one, hope or wish for the community that you have started? Like, what would you like to see it blossom into? Like, perfect scenario.
I would love for people to engage more and be more active. And it would be great if we could start planning something with the kids. And because we all know we can plan something and it's not going to go that way. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's expected from our children. And we can get our kids together, and you're going to have to keep running after yours. And this one's going to probably be hitting himself or hitting something else. There's going to be lots of distractions and not, in quotation marks, typical behavior. And that is a safe place because nobody will be typical here.
Absolutely. You got Mr. Curtis thinking over here.
Well,
now.
Yeah.
Mr. Curtis. See, I'm
But
calling you
that's
Mr.
okay.
Curtis, Jared.
Yeah. That's okay. You can call me whatever you want, Cardi. But no, I was just thinking about we've been talking about the impact of being able to be real with people, being able to walk through life. The worst things that we carry with us are the ones that we try to hide, or the things that we try to push to the back, and again, like you were talking about earlier, early on, it is easy to hide. It is easy to kind of just disconnect from everybody and deal with your own little issue. But one of the things that comes with that is this horrible feeling of being alone and having no idea what to do. So if we can go ahead and drop the walls, because I know something else that we run into an awful lot is that parents almost feel like they have to be the authority on all things that are that their child is dealing with, right? Like okay, so we have a son with autism, so we have to know how to answer every question about autism. We have to know all the answers. When somebody asks me about it, I have to be the authority. I have to know what I'm talking about. And the truth is this: we're still learning every day. I mean, we're raising a boy with autism, and
We've even taken courses on it.
right,
we're still trying to figure it out.
But
because we're all still learning about it.
Absolutely. And when we stop learning is when things go bad. So what is your, I think you probably already said this, but I forgot. So what is the name of this group that you have on Facebook?
I should have wrote that down so I made sure that I said it right.
Well, I'm sure that Laura will find it if she needs to.
I'm pretty sure it's Caregivers Raising Children on the Spectrum.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it.
I try to make it super clear.
So what's
to the point?
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So we'll definitely we'll push that, and we'll throw it on our Facebook and whatnot. Because again, it's all about the team. It's about people working together. And when we work together and we support each other, that's when the best things happen. And it really does take a village. It really does take a tribe for our children to become everything that they possibly can be, and to progress to the point that they are living their best lives. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we all really want, is we want to be able to see our children function in life the best that they can and get all that they can out of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's a messy life. This is not a cookie cutter, picture perfect portrait here. The life is messy, and it's nice to be messy with others.
Absolutely. It's always more fun, right?
Yes. Yes. And then
like you said, real. It's real.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you keep isolated for so long, that's going to come with depression, and that's going to come with a lot of other things. And if you're depressed, how can you help your child?
Mm-hmm.
Because of how you feel. And then that spirals into then you have guilt about your feelings, and it's okay to feel that way because it is
Absolutely.
hard and you don't know what to do, because nobody knows what to do
Yeah,
when you have a child on the spectrum.
we didn't get an owner's manual. I'm guessing you probably didn't either. So
Well, I keep asking for one.
Well, and like you said, it's always it's a spectrum too. So what works for one child doesn't work for another child.
Exactly.
But and just to say, I was so glad to see you make that group and to step out of, because I know you were looking for something yourself.
I was looking for one too. I was one of the people who were like messaging me. I was messaging others. I'm like, is there a group for moms with young kids on the spectrum to where we could just vent maybe or get advice or anything? And when about the fourth or fifth person had asked me, I said, enough is enough. I'll just make it myself.
Yep, there you go. And sometimes that's what we got to do. Okay, never mind. Well, I'm just gonna. I'll do it myself.
And I hope it gets more engagement. It is a safe place. Nobody is here to judge.
Absolutely. Very good.
yeah, that sounds excellent. So, and then one more thing, by taking this step and moving out and meeting people and forging these relationships, what's been really cool for us is we've found a whole slew of people that love Xander. That if we were trying to just keep them all held up in this, he wouldn't be able to experience that. They wouldn't get to know him, and he wouldn't be able to know them, and so it's been great to see the impact on his development because of the interactions that he gets to have with people outside of his own family. So yeah, do everybody a favor.
Yep.
Get your kids out there,
Get your
because
kids out there.
how is the world supposed to learn if we keep them isolated?
Absolutely.
So with that said, I think we're going to wrap this thing up. We hit our 30 minutes. And see, it wasn't so bad, was it?
No, I think it was all right.
So, but thank you again, Lindsey, for hanging out with us, for answering some questions, and being willing to talk to us about your super awesome daughter. And by the way, I think you're aware of this, but I just want to make sure you know, if nothing else ever pans out, this girl can be a death metal singer. Okay?
Yes, she can.
She has a beautiful voice when she's singing, but boy, when she turns it on, it's earth shaking.
Yes, found that out during Christmas carols in her kindergarten year. I was like, oh, okay.
Yep, she's got it.
She's a rock star.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
All right, so we're going to sign off. Thank you again for hanging out with us, Lindsey, and thank you for people other than my mom that listen to this, because I've been yelled at a couple times for saying that she's the only one that listens. So, we're going to wrap this up, and we'll see you guys next week.